10 people on the same page thinking alike, that's very powerful.
AfriCOBRA means African Commune of Bad, Relevant Artists.
Our mission as AfriCOBRA artists was to capture lifestyles and attitudes of African Americans.
We weren't addressing the art world, we were addressing our people.
Wanting to inspire, educate.
You got to look at this in the time.
So we were not ahead of our time, we was right on time.
It was like wake-up time.
A message to the community that our self-worth is not defined by the powers that be.
Positive messages that we should have as a people.
Art has a social responsibility.
Our art had a purpose. It was not art for art's sake.
Art has power, more power than a lot of people realize.
I gathered together kindred spirits, and we set out to establish a set of principles that we will work with and try to promote a certain agenda that had a political aspect as well as an aesthetic one. And that was AfriCOBRA. We wanted to use our talents in the interest of the movement. It became bigger than anything any of us had ever envisioned.
A pro-black group that would work towards a school of thought.
We're a group making art, and we play off each other in the sense that musicians do, and we lift each other higher.
We have been on this journey for 41 years. And we know where we want to go.
I wanted this art of mine and of other artists to correct some ills, to make some changes.
We all can do something, and we speak through our, through our medium.
We are a force, and this particular piece says TCB at the top means we need to take care of business. We must protect our community and come together.
The change that we were interested in making was not a change in the art world, because we weren't addressing the art world, we were addressing our people. This piece is one of those signature hallmark AfriCOBRA pieces, positive imagery.
The use of Kool-Aid colors, the raspberry, the orange, the grape.
The Kool-Aid and the colors were cool with me because I thought the color is what we're about.
Lettering, not only in terms of a message, but also in terms of design. Art is the first form of communication.
We also are workers in a struggle to define, represent, and defend African people.
And when we make the works that we make, we're creating a reflection of ourselves.
It's dealing with speaking to the people, our people. But all people are welcome to view it, appreciate it. AfriCOBRA has a spiritual responsibility.
It is as relevant now as it was then, and probably even more so.
And probably will be 100 years from now.
We need to be out here. We need to have a communal base. We need to have an art that has some kind of collective responsibility. By having younger artists in our group, having these dialogues, it keeps us fresh. So I think we're relevant.
I'm in the present. I draw upon my past and I project toward my future.
Once you're in AfriCOBRA, you're always in AfriCOBRA.
When I was young, you never saw black artists. You never saw art that spoke in that way. So I knew classic art and I loved the art, but I never saw myself in it. Blacks were portrayed as stereotypes, caricatures, and archetypes.
The Wall of Respect was based on honoring heroes, sheroes in different areas of the arts.
That imagery might have been the first time people had really seen something positive, something like this is what it looks like, success looks like.
We were African Americans living in a country where we couldn't even vote in some states. There are places we couldn't go in.
One of the things that we needed more than anything else was control over our own destiny.
The Wall of Respect sort of showed us that we could do this. It jump-started AfriCOBRA.
It was like wake-up time.
It's nation time.
It's nation time.
To build a nation, you need everybody to work together.
Individuals can't have the impact like a group has.
The first meeting was at Wadsworth Gerald's studio on 61st Street. We were really focusing on communicating visually to the viewer, and the viewer that we were looking at looked like us.
AfriCOBRA means African Commune of Bad, Relevant Artists.
The point is you speak through your work.
Each one of us individually are good at what we do, but collectively, we're gooder. Bad is actually gooder.
AfriCOBRA was based on trying to communicate positive ideas to the people.
The positivity we were reaching for was something that we all agreed needed to be done and could be achieved.
We didn't do images of downtrodden people.
We're not about subjugating. We're about uplifting.
The opportunity is there. It can be negative or positive, and I want to impress upon them positive ideas.
When you have that connection to a community that you're speaking to and they respond, that art is an ultimate act of love.
It warmed my soul because of the fact that I felt like that I was making an impact in the community.
You plant those seeds by allowing them to know that they are worthy and important and necessary to society as a whole.
Even if this is not a part of your experience now, everyone should be aware of it.
AfriCOBRA belongs to all of humanity.
We laid everything out. We created a black aesthetic. We created a school of thought.
Look at this work that's here. This is ours.
They don't look like anybody else's work. You know, they look like our work, AfriCOBRA work.
I'm black and I'm proud. And I want the world to know that.
Do you see us?
Right.
Do you know what we're into?
Exactly.
Do you know what our experience is? Do you see me?
Right.
I see you.
I don't think we sat down and said, we're going to start a black art movement. We kind of like became more critical of the work that was out there. What's the essence of life in 1968? You know, with all that's going on, you know, what can we do to capture some of what's going on? You know, what is it that makes this work unequivocally work done by a black artist? We weren't gun shooting revolutionaries.
It is all out of the head of Jeff Donaldson. COBRA, Coalition of Black Revolution, right out of his head. The switch is right out of his head too. I think it had something to do with the Black Panther Party though. A little bit. Because they were approaching everybody trying to figure out who was revolutionary. You know, and they called us some bad names. It would make me cry, say it. Pork chop nationalists.
That's right.
Hurt you to your heart.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about the whole thing, and I can't stress it too much, we're an organization of artists, and we are perhaps the least likely people to join together. Artists. This is my piece right there. I've got several pieces in here that I'm very proud of. I was teaching at Northern Illinois at the time, Northern Illinois University. I ran into Jeff Donaldson in 1969. He said, try and get as close to Chicago as possible. I did. My life has never been the same. I've taken a lot of advice from Jeff Donaldson.
We know during that period, so many things were happening that were collectives, that were moving beyond the individual to our collective progress as a people. So you had an AACM, an Obasi, a Koumba, ETA, all of these things came from here. Napoleon as a died in the woods, Chicago.
It didn't happen other places.
No, it did not. So my question is to Napoleon, what do you think? Why did these things spring forth from Chicago?
I have a theme that I believe, which is that if you grow up in Black Chicago, you have to make a decision to make a statement that you're not an activist.
You have to decide not to be one.
You have to decide not to be one, because you're brought up an activist if you're raised in Black Chicago.
We came together as Coalition of Black Revolutionary Artists. After that, we created a philosophy Some of the principles were, the first one was Kool-Aid Colors, which was a parody probably of the color, the product Kool-Aid, but the name really emanated from the clothing that the black communities were wearing all over America. It was bright clothing, and they coined it Kool-Aid Colors. We spelled it different than the product. That was our first principle. One was frontal images, which was indicative of African art, African sculpture, which is all frontal. It's never 3/4 of profile. And this gave the images strength. We had several principles. I'm not going to go into all of them, but those are very visible. You will see the colors. When I say Kool-Aid Colors, you will see this visible in everyone's work. Normally, the frontal images you will see also. Our ultimate goal was to create a school of thought.
And maybe we can look at the urban wall suit, because this certainly also displays the Kool-Aid colors. Mm-hmm. Another thing that's clear from both the painting and the suit is the use of text in your work.
Right, that is particularly one of our principles, to write on our surfaces so that we could celebrate through statements, bring attention to awareness of issues that we wanted to stress. It was also a part of a principle that we thought of as poster art, that you may drive by and glance at a billboard and get the message. And so we incorporated that so that we sort of drew away from some of the Western traditions that we had learned in our training to bring this to an urban Black community, and so that we could say what we meant in our work and did not allow ourselves to be defined by the critics or the powers that be.
Do you see me? I see you.